Is it okay if I get started with while you do that? Okay. So first matters is taking the attendance in the room. So we have Mary Ellen, Sarah, Ryan, Brendan, and Don. And I don't think we have anyone joining by phone. Then we'll move to approve the prior meeting minutes of February 5th. Does anyone want to make a motion to
Make a
approve?
motion to approve the minutes.
Second.
Brendan made the motion.
Second.
Ryan seconded. Any discussion? Aye, all those in favor of approving the
Aye.
minutes of February 5th? Aye. All opposed? None. The motion carries. Okay, the next order of business is I'd like to invite Denise Savaggio. Savaggio, thank you, to present to us on goose mitigation. And thank you so much for being here.
Is that Brian? Is that?
That's me.
Let's see. I think I made just enough for everybody, and I'll call the presentation up on my cell phone. Well,
Thank you.
Thank you.
wasn't sure how many people there were.
You picked right.
I know, I just happened to, but just give me 1 second till I will have the presentation. I got it up. There we go. So just quickly, again, my name is Denise Savaggio, and I was the conservation director for the town of Greenwich for 20 years. And as with most municipalities, we had challenges that, coastal communities, we had challenges with geese. Most people know, some of the background on Canada geese is that they used to, when they were migratory waterfowl, and with the migration, what the hunters used to do is they would clip the feathers of the birds so that, so they had, regular geese. So they'd have the geese clip the feathers and use them as live decoys. Eventually that ended up having resident populations of geese that didn't know enough to migrate because of that. So that was pre the Migratory Waterfowl Act. So they had to release them. So they had these geese that they were, flipping and using as live decoys. And when they had to release the wild geese, guess what? So there was this whole population, and it took a while for the population to kind of explode. But that's kind of what we're dealing with now, is the geese kind of forgot, stopped migrating like they used to. So that happened in the 1930s. And then, so they are a regulated species. So we do need to be aware of that with anything we do. But there are things that we could do. Greenwich went through all types of things. Prior to my coming to Greenwich, the Department of Public Health did some roundups of geese. Roundups, basically they corral them and they slaughter the geese. It was used for food, so it wasn't a waste. We made sure that the food was donated, but let's just say controversy, major, as you can imagine. The animal rights come out of the woodwork. So there's a couple of different things that you can do, with geese. Obviously, you want to. There's three things. And I'm going to talk about the egg oiling, but I just is hazing, and I know that the town is doing some hazing with kind of a mechanical drone type thing or whatever it is. But you could do hazing with, it started with dogs. But now, of course, we've got some other types of things. You can also haze with noise and whatever to various levels of success. You can always also when you're doing things you want to, you can do some landscaping work. And I'll get into the biology of the geese real quick. So you can do that, and then you do the egg oiling, and that's really about population stabilization. Because geese are so good at this. Now, understand they don't migrate anymore. So they really not subject to the predation. They're very long lived because they don't do this big migration, which takes a lot of energy and puts a lot of stress on the animals. So instead of an adult animal living 7 to 10 years in the wild, now we're looking at resident geese that can live 18 to 20 years every, and they mature by the time they're 2 to 3 years old. 3 years old is probably when they really start reproducing. And that's, so that's your problem, because they're not going anywhere, and they're very faithful to where they've bred, in terms of coming back to renest, because they were successful. So if you were successful, why wouldn't it come back there? What you're going to find in areas is that, like, all of a sudden we have a lot of geese, goslings, but where's the nest? And so they do look for areas that are where there's no predators. So we have a lot of predators. We've got coyotes, we've got other types of predators, fox, whatever, that will prey on them. So that's what they love, islands. And that's a lot of times why we don't see them until the goslings are hatched, right? Because all of a sudden, they're just like, we don't see big flocks. Like all of a sudden, where are they? And whatever. And then all of a sudden we see them. So couple of other things about their biology is that they lose their flight feathers. All of the geese lose their flight feathers at the end of May, early June. So if you don't have them out, if you haven't hazed them by then, you can haze until the cows come home. They can't go anywhere because they cannot fly. Most people don't know that. They see them like running to the water and whatever. They can't fly. And this is a evolutionary thing that happened, because it's like they take care of the goslings. So when the goslings hatch and they lose their flight feathers, they now don't gain their flight feathers till mid-July, August. Then they can fly, and that's when the goslings don't look like cute little goslings anymore. They now look like adults, and they all fly, and they can all, migrate if they were going to migrate. I mean, they'll migrate in Connecticut. They'll go to, they might migrate to the shore, to different ponds and lakes and whatever, but basically they're resident to the state or near areas. So that's kind of what we're dealing with. And so that's where, when you're thinking about what you need to do, you need to think about like these months when they don't have flight feathers and looking at that. So that's where you want to try to haze them in the early spring before they nest. Once they nest, they're not going anywhere. They not only lose their flight feathers, but they're going to be very loyal to the nest. Like I said, they just won't go anywhere, because now they've got goslings, and and you kind of have them hanging around and whatever. So when you haze them later in the spring, they just kind of move from one place to the other. But again, that once they lose their flight feathers, they're not going anywhere anyway, and they won't leave the goslings. So you have to think about, so if you haze early spring, that's to like keep them out so that they don't nest. And you want to do that because you want that to create an unsafe space for them to nest. So that's the best time to be most effective with your hazing. Now, the other thing they do is, okay, you're going to haze, like, let's say Rogers Lake, which is my understanding, your main concern. I know the town may have other concerns, and there may be some beach concerns you have as well. And Long Island is a challenge. Long Island Sound is a challenge for that reason. It's like they can, swim in from anywhere, because that's what happens is once they nest and they'll find these like islands or whatever. Now once the goslings are hatched, they'll go someplace where they can swim, and then where they can walk on shore to eat. So that's really what you're looking at. And they can go up the littlest, tiniest stream to where they want to be, or any cove or whatever. So that's what you'll see them. And they tend to then gather in flocks, because now the bigger the more adults that are together with all the other, goslings, that they're safer from predators, right? But they want that water habitat, because and they'll stay close to the shore. They'll go, upland a little bit to, eat the newly mowed grass. And we'll talk a little bit about that in a second. But basically they'll, go, they're looking at the water, because that's where they're safe from the predators. So for them, it's all about avoiding predation. So like I talked about, so you could do the hazing. You can do, some landscape thing, and we can talk about that a little bit towards the end. That has some limited success. It can be successful, and there's some things I've looked at Rogers Lake near your beach area, and there's some things you could do that would probably be successful. Because understand they can't fly, so if you do vegetated edges, they can't get in, and you make it so they really can't get through the vegetated edges or fencing. They can't get to the lawn where they want to eat. So it's like, how do we keep them out? Because people, it's not like they're flying over. They now have to walk over, and that's, so it's always think about like, we have to do something to stop them from walking from the water to, where they're gonna feed and then back to the water. So that's what you want to think about when you're thinking about landscaping. So, but let me just talk about the stabilization program, because I think I was told that Rogers Lake Authority was looking at doing this. As I said, they're regulated species, so you do need to know the federal law. And there's a registration program that I was working with, as well as the gentleman who created the program that I train people on is called the Geese Peace Program. And he developed this for a community just like this, wealthy community right out of DC and Virginia. And you can imagine there's a lot of affluence down there, and like people are going crazy. So it's like, okay, what do we do around this lake? So he started with the, hazing the geese so they weren't nesting in the first place. But also this population stabilization and trying to reduce their numbers. And it does take a while. It's not a miracle, but how many years have you been dealing with geese? Many. So it's going to take a while. But if you don't have any goslings, the population will be stable for a while, but eventually it starts going down because there's no goslings. So that's what, and once they're not successful, they'll even think about like, do I really want to nest here anymore? And so that's, your main goal is basically to get them so they're not nesting. And that will, after 4 or 5 seasons or whatever, they'll stop nesting and your numbers will go down. I know I had, we were doing work on town properties, but we also worked with neighborhood folks who had small ponds and whatever, and had anybody register who had geese. And we would help them either by going out and egg oiling, because we would train volunteers, or we could send a volunteer out, like just, help this person because they can't do it themselves. But the legal thing that we did was we registered their property. We would get a permission slip from them signed, and we would register so that, there was only one registration, and it could be a neighborhood association, although a neighborhood association, it should be within the association, and that doesn't take the whole town. We did it as a town, so the town could just then, any property that was in the town could then, and all you would have to do is register that property, but you could register as many properties, and you just have to do it the day you're doing it. It's not like you have to register them ahead of time. You can just go in and somebody calls you up and you just say, okay, we've registered your property. And as long as we have the permission slip, and you don't have to send the permission slips into anybody, it really is something you just keep in your file, that somebody let you go on their property. And then at the end of the day, you have to say how many nests and how many eggs. And you have to report that to Fish and Wildlife now you usually do this in April and May. You don't even have to get that paperwork into them until December 31st. So you have a whole lot of time to say, like, for somebody to look and say like, okay, we did 10 nests and, usually 6 eggs per nest. So it's like, so we did 60 eggs. So that's kind of where we were. The reason that I use the Geese Peace program, is because this is approved by the Humane Society. And that's a good thing for you, because then you don't have the animal rightists coming after you because of there's 3 ways that U.S. Fish and Wildlife let you predate eggs under this permit. One is egg oiling, which is what I recommend. But you can also do addling. The problem with addling is very time consuming. You're supposed to shake each egg for 5 minutes. Like 5 minutes. Okay, so think about 6 eggs times 5 minutes. Now you spent, a half hour in one nest. Like, no, nobody wants to do that. You can puncture, but if you break the egg, they will re-clutch. So they'll relay an egg. So if you take the eggs out, which you're not allowed to do, can't take the eggs and you can't harvest the eggs. What you want to do is, you know, if you can addle the eggs, you can puncture the eggs, but you want the egg intact to keep it in the nest so that they don't relay. And because if you do this early, they'll come in and say like, you know, and if you take the eggs out or if the eggs get predated very early, what you want, and that's why the egg oiling is so good. Suffocates the, you know, stops the process because it coats the egg so no oxygen exchange, but they don't know it right away. And so they're not going to reclutch. And then by the time that the egg is, you know, not viable, they're not going to reclutch anymore. So leaving those eggs in the nest is critical. You know, and the reason that this is with the Humane Society is, okay, so you go out, find the nest, and like I said, I can train on how to find the nest, do all that stuff. You take the egg, you float them in water. And, you know, almost all the ones, if you're there at the right time, they're going to sink. If they float, that means that they're going to turn into they're already far enough along. So with the geese peas method, you don't supposed to oil the egg or addle the egg if it floats, because that means it's too far along in development. It's basically, you know, already a chick or a gosling. So it's about 2 to 2.5 weeks into, so it takes about 4 weeks, I think, for the eggs to totally. I think it's 4 weeks. I can't remember if it's 4 or 6, but it's about, you have about a 2-week window to oil the eggs once they finish with the clutch. So and have to use 100% corn oil. Why you can't use another vegetable oil? Why you can't use olive oil? Not that I want to use olive oil because it's more expensive probably than corn oil, but you have to use. It's probably some, you know, somebody probably lobbied with the corn oil people, but you have to use 100% corn oil. So this is where the regulatory stuff comes in. I can just say you have to use 100% corn oil. That's not a big deal. You get your corn oil, and you know, you oil your eggs, and you know, and pretty much that, you know, anybody can learn how to do this. It's like, okay, how do I, you know, get the egg in terms of, you know, how do I find them? How do I just, when you find a nest, there's going to be a goose on it, and they're big and they can be very aggressive. But they developed this amazing technique with an umbrella, where you open up the umbrella and you walk to the nest, and it's like a big wing, and they just go off the nest. Or at worst case, which we have had happen, they fly into the umbrella, you know, because they will go after, but it's like you're behind the umbrella. Usually you do 2 people, one person's holding the umbrella, the other person's oiling the egg. So one person is always kind of protecting you with the umbrella. It's like a simple technique that pretty much anybody can do. You can't hurt the geese. You can't touch the geese. You can't do anything. You can go in and oil the eggs. I mean, if they come after, you've got the umbrella, you can't be swatting it at them. But if you've got the umbrella and they attack the umbrella, no one's going to say that you attacked them. But you can't be like swatting it at them and whatever. You're protecting yourself with the umbrella. I've done hundreds of nests and addled, you know, we used to do 100 to 200, depending on the season and whatever. And we ended up having a lot of volunteers. We would do 100, 200 nests a year, and, you know, addle, you know, the nests average 6 to 8 eggs. You're doing a lot of, think about now those not goslings. And if you look at your handout, it kind of shows you, so it talks about the season and the molting. So that's really important to understand what's happening. So right now you're going to start looking at that mating season. So you've got your chart. It's the second thing on the page. It talks about that season. So it's really important for people to understand that. So it kind of goes through that. But then if you look at, you know, over 8 years, you know, what 4 adult geese result in that many babies. And then they're coming back, and by the time they're in their 3rd year, they're now. So this is the problem if you don't stabilize the population and you just do hazing, right? or if you just do landscape management. So this is why this is so important, because you need to get the numbers down. Will they start going other places? If they can't find nesting sites, they'll start looking at all the little ponds around and whatever. But that's really what we want to do, because those numbers are crazy. So it's very simple, to train people on how to do this. Usually I do a training program, takes about 2.5 hours at the most. So I usually say 2.5 hours, but a lot of times we're done before that, depending on how sophisticated the audience is. So I can go in, I do the PowerPoint presentation, talk about some of the other strategies. I just limited this handouts so that I didn't have to print up too much paper. But I usually start off talking about, like, okay, we want to talk about hazing, we want to talk about this, just quickly to let them know that, like I did with you, that there's other things. But really, we're there to teach people how to do the egg oiling and make sure that everybody is, registered and whatever. So the way I would recommend, is to making the decision, if the town is going to do it, if Rogers Lake Association is going to do it, who is going to be the register folks. Because if you go on private property, now if it's town-owned property, you're good, because you're a town agency. Similarly, if there's association, I know with the Lake Association, if there's association property, maybe like where the clubhouse is, I don't know anything about your association, but if there's association property or common property that's part of the association, then you can do that. But once you're on individuals, you need to have permission from that landowner. You can't just say, I didn't bring them today. I've got to actually, I've got to look at my files and see, but we can either make up new permission slips, or I'm going to see if I can get the ones from Greenwich. Sarah's who I hired, is still there. And I'll just have her send me the forms, and we can, get the permission slips. And you can see, I think the last page is probably the, just a reporting form where we reported on what the, yeah, so we just had the reporting form, just the data and the point. Couple of things, like we bring black magic markers with us. So we mark the egg and oil. If you go to a nest and it only has 2 or 3 eggs, it's a nest you might want to go back to, because they usually lay more than that. Now they might not. You might go back 3 or 4 days later, and if they still have 3 eggs in there, they'll lay 1 egg a day until they're done. And usually, most nests are anywhere between, I said 6 to 8, but actually it's probably more like 4 to 8. A lot of them are around 6. So, but it's like, if you only have 2 or 3 eggs, that means you got there early, which is a good thing. You oil those eggs, but then you go back and check and see if they've laid any more. Give them 3 or 4 more days. Understand that, you want to be out there once they start nesting. And that's in this area is going to be end of March through April. And I would say this winter is going to be a little challenging with what, they may delay until we have ice out. I don't know how soon. You guys probably know your lake better. Probably didn't see this much ice in a while, but once you have ice out, you're going to notice the geese pairing up. And, if you're seeing a flock of geese, that's, 5, 6, 7 geese all together. Those are young ones that haven't paired off yet. They're not laying eggs. You can haze those, try to see if you can get them to. But when you start seeing 1 goose, then you probably have another goose on a nest, especially if you have if you have 1 goose just in the water, just by themselves. What's that goose just doing by itself? That's kind of an indication that it's like, I probably have a female on a nest, and that's the sentinel male. Mm-hmm. So those are the types of things that I train on, so that you can look for. This is how you identify. You guys probably know where some of the nests are, like islands or whatever, but it's good. You can train this year. It takes a couple of years to gear up, get the people who really are interested in helping with this. I have to say it's fascinating, doing it. If you have people so that you need to go out to islands with people with boats, coordinating that, I'm assuming the Rogers Lake folks know that, that's not a problem. So, which is a good thing. but you wanna do it and don't ignore, so it's the big lake, but all those little tribs that come into your lake or anything else where they can, even if they can walk, so if somebody has a pond, a little pond, but now they can walk, if they can walk across 2 or 3 yards, across the road and whatever to get to the big lake, because that's where they eventually want to go. So don't ignore those smaller ponds and even those private ponds. I found that once we told people, it's like, oh yeah, I've got a goose nesting. Like I said, I had one set of couple, and we did their nesting, and all of a sudden they said they're not back this year. So we had oiled for like 3 or 4 years in a row, and then the pair just stopped coming, which, some people don't like. So that's where it's like you have to, but they were dealing with, now, all the goslings and all the goose poop all summer on their yard. And they were, thrilled. They really liked, I mean, they kind of liked controlling the population and just having the 2 adults there. But eventually the adults will say, well, either you lose the adults because they do age out eventually, or they realize this isn't a safe place to nest anymore. And they won't figure that out in 1 year because predation happens, but they'll do it. So any questions, I'll leave it there. That's kind of my spiel.
It was fascinating.
Great.
So
Yes, I learned so much.
I know.
Amazing. Yeah.
They're very smart, those geese.
They are. I mean, it's a fascinating, when you go up and you're oiling the eggs, I have to say, it's amazing process. It's like, you feel a little bad in some ways, but it's also like, oh my God, this is up close and personal with wildlife. So you have to have people who are interested in that, but there are people who, and like I said, one of the things you can advertise is when if you're going to do training or wanted to advertise that this is sanctioned by the Humane Society. And that's why we're doing it this way, this geese peace training. The guy who put this together, David from Virginia, he's a friend of mine. He was an engineer and he figured this out. He was like, did this whole engineering thing. It's like, okay, so he's like, okay, let's look at their life cycle. Look at this. He just, he was an engineer, but he worked for USDA, and he just was like, put that engineering mentality to this. And it was genius what he did, really. There's big communities on Long Island that are using this. I'm trying to think of some of the names. What they're saying. They have, as you know, they've got some of these like tidal wetlands with all kinds of islands everywhere. We have some of that too. And Rocky Neck is one of the places we're trying to get. It's like we'd love to have the state like do some of their work, because that's one of our challenges. Is there's a lot of geese nesting at Rocky Neck. That said, some of the people on Long Island, some of the communities were really going in and doing all this, because it's like now Rogers Lake, if you just want to take care of that, it's like, okay, that's different. But if there's coastal stuff that, or where they can come upstream anywhere, you need to be thinking about that. So think about those areas because they are not nesting at Rogers Lake Park. I'm not saying they wouldn't nest there, but they're not going to nest with this predator. They're going to nest where predators can't get at them. So they love these little, hummocks and whatever, it's interesting where they nest.
Now, where do they go during the winter at Fair Mountain Lake? What?
They're here.
They're here.
They're here.
Yeah, I never realized that.
Oh,
They're here all winter.
go by the dam.
You'll see them more in
And
the, and you see them more,
out there at some mornings.
and they're more in the coastal waters because, once the ponds freeze over, they'll be in the coastal waters, and then they do. So not all the geese who are here all winter will nest here because they'll disperse to all the ponds within Connecticut, but we will have some so it might be that the ones who end up nesting at Rogers Lake may be, coming from Long Island or wherever, they winter. So they'll winter somewhere, but then once they come back, but like I said, we need to look at those individual geese. We need to look at, like how to spot pairs. And that's what you're going to start looking for now. It's like, I'm seeing pairs. And then where are they going? And I think educating people about what to look for.
Yeah.
And doing that. So,
I have another question. Do the geese come to, say, to Old Lyme from other areas?
they can.
But is it normal, or is it just the goslings that reproduce and grows that way? Or do other geese come and join them here?
So the geese that have laid nests here the goslings, so now the goslings are being raised here and they will try to come back to this area. Now, they're not as faithful necessarily to an exact nesting site, although they can be, but understand the parents already have that nesting site. So now when the juveniles decide to nest, but because they're going around, it could be when they mate up, you could have a male that was born near Rogers Lake and somebody else was born in Clinton. Because in the wintertime, they kind of do pond hopping and they also go to the coast. So, but then when they pair, they may come back. Once they nest, then they're faithful to that nesting site. But they'll be in the area. They're not going far. And that's one of the things. I'm not saying that all of the geese that were born like let's say around Rogers Lake will come back there, because it could be that they decided that and I don't know if it's more the female or male who makes the decision, but they could decide like, oh, we're going to Clinton. But that said, there's enough that are coming back here because there's successful nesting sites.
I have a quick question. And it's a mechanical one. So when you go out to oil the eggs,
Mhm.
the goose is there all the time because they're nesting. So when you talked about the water with like the floating test, do you have to bring a bucket?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So you can kind of see there's one that has all the equipment in it. So you have a bucket. The bucket has your umbrella in it, although, some stuff you just keep it in. We have, you want gloves, rubber gloves. So how many extra athletic bottles do you have? Like the real cheap ones so we just put the oil in that, so that then it's just, you put it on the egg, you rub the egg, takes like 2 seconds to oil the egg. You make sure they have to be completely, put them back in the nest and you're done.
And the
We take a permanent magic marker. We mark the eggs with just an X.
Just that it was oiled.
So that that this was oiled. So if you go back or if somebody else finds the nest, because
And the goose has no,
they go right back on the nest after. I mean, as soon as you're gone, they're back on that nest. They could be like, don't put down your umbrella, back away. It depends. Some geese are like, don't care. I mean, they're not that they don't care, they'll squawk, but some geese can be, and you can tell it's probably an age thing. It's like they're a little bit more mature and they're like, oh yeah, you're not coming.
I have one more question. So when the oiling process,
Mhm.
because these geese live so long,
Mhm.
to actually start the remediation takes years. I think I heard you say that, right?
Well, yeah, I mean, you'll see, first of all, you'll see that you don't have the number of goslings. So that means that until they lose their flight feathers, if there's no goslings, you can still haze until they lose their flight feathers, which they lose their flight feathers at the end of May, sometime in June. If you have goslings, it doesn't matter. They won't leave. Once they have goslings, the adults will not leave.
But
You cannot haze
I
them.
guess that my question would be though, is if the oiling is successful
Mhm.
so that they don't have any goslings,
Mhm.
how long do they still stay around?
Well, as adults, they'll just stay around, but like I say, that means you can haze them. And what you want to do is haze them away from the lake before they lose their flight feathers. Because once they lose their flight feathers, they're there.
Okay.
But you can also then, haze them after that. So that's where the end of August, you want to haze them again and make sure you just want to make the area so that they don't want to come back here and nest. So that's where, if you're going to do hazing, thinking about hazing right from the get-go, first thing. And, and like I said, there's a couple, we could talk a little bit more about hazing if you want, but there's, this is when you're successful with the hazing. But if you just do the haze, so this is the problem though. Towns hazing off of their, the school athletic fields, appropriately so. So then where are those geese? So you're just going back and forth. And if no one's taking care of the population, it's basically like, who's got the best hazing program? Does Old Saybrook have a better hazing program than we have? You're just sending the geese back and forth. This is why the population control is really important.
Isn't that though part of the problem with the goose is its resilience? And what I mean is, unless there's coordinated efforts between the district, the school, the town.
That's why it's great for the town to do it.
is it futile?
Yeah, and see, that's where in our town, so the town that I turned, because now I'm in this town, I live in this town. But when I was in Greenwich and I was a coordinator there, that's why, so the Conservation Commission, I was the conservation director, we had staff. I worked very closely with Parks and Rec, but we took this on. And because we had the staff that kind of knew wildlife and that kind of stuff and could do the training and whatever. And we set it up so that we were the ones doing it on all town properties. And we were coordinating the hazing, we were coordinating that. So that's where,
So do you
The-
recommend that if this town is gonna take on this type of process, that there is a body to oversee all of it? In other words, everybody has to be on the same page.
I mean, I think it's good if they think it's just like, the hazing, like you can keep them off your athletic fields at the school. But then the geese going somewhere. So it really is good. Now, that little piece of it, because we had some of that, we had a couple of schools that had to do that. They weren't nesting near the schools, so them just hazing them off it's really is, the more coordination is everybody who's got geese nesting on their land. It's really, because it's to stabilize the population, it's all about these little ponds. And these, the little pond with a little island that looks just so beautiful. And every year there's a goose nest right in the middle of that island. Those are that's our challenge. And there's a lot of them, believe me.
I have a question. When you say they lose their flight feathers,
Mhm.
that means they can't fly at all, or they can
They can't-
fly short
No, they
distances?
can't fly.
Can't fly at all.
I mean, could they, can they maybe, I don't think they could fly at all. Would they be able to like kind of glide from one place to the other? I'd have to ask, I'd have to get into technical stuff with
It seems like
From
a,
observation,
biologist.
I've seen them during those months and they'll like get a little air, they'll go like 20 feet.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. They might be able
Over a
to,
fence or something.
they might be able to do a little bit, but they really
they'll
don't.
get into the water as fast as they can.
Yeah, but they can't, but they don't fly. And they will not leave the goslings. That's the big issue. So,
So it's critical to get to the eggs because it's a one time a year thing.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
If you don't
Yeah.
deal with the eggs.
Yep.
There's nothing really you can do.
Yeah.
Right.
yeah, I mean, that's the number one thing. I mean, you can apply as a municipality or as an association or whatever for a predation permit. With US Fish and Wildlife, well, US Fish and Wildlife, I don't think they'll think you have to get a permit from them, but USDA will do goose, but let me just tell you. It's a very public process.
Yeah.
And
How do you prove that?
you will
Humane
bring
Society-
every animal rights crazy person.
Not interested. How do you-
Hopefully we don't have any animal rights crazy people in here, but let's just say you will.
How do you prove that it's sanctioned by the Humane Society? Like, is there literature or something that if a group is doing this, they can say, look, here's the.
I can check with, I'll see if Laura still has that, but it was actually the Humane Society that that there was, when I was asked to come in, it was because the Department of Public Health was doing a couple of things. And it's in conjunction with Parks and Rec, and let's just say, so the Humane Society came, because the animal rights went crazy and whatever, they said, we can help you. And they helped us by introducing us to, to the Geese Peace program.
Mhm.
And I've trained people in Rhode Island, I've trained people all over Connecticut, so.
I have a question. Do you suggest from your own expertise that if this gets going and we start the process, that we do have something to educate the townspeople as to what's going on?
Yeah, I mean, I think, I think advertising it.
Because people are gonna think, they only think, everybody thinks the.
Yeah,
worst.
I mean, I think, you do the training program, you advertise it, you let people know what you're doing and the success,
And if it's on your own property, I forget what you said, like.
So, anybody on their own property can register themselves. They don't have to involve anybody here. The registration allows someone who's on their own property to just do it. That said, there's a lot of people on their own property, they just have no idea how to handle wildlife. So that's why doing the training, and you could have, You know, we're training people come in, they just want to take care of that nest on their own property and they don't won't register with you. They'll just do it. But at least we've given them the tools
Mhm.
as well as the legal tools so that they don't get in trouble, you know, by somebody reporting them. But you've also now offered them the support by like, oh, let's register as a town. And it kind of lets you know what's going on. And you get that, you know, that handful of people who are gonna call you, you know, I hate to say it, but it's the classic little old lady. I'm in that category now. I wasn't when I first started this. But it's like, and just can't do it anymore, or, you know,
It could be dangerous.
or whatever. It's like, you know, and I mean, I talk about the islands, but but geese schools, if you're in an area where there's not predators, because maybe there's no coyotes around there because people have dogs. Well, the geese don't care about someone's dog because dogs don't go after them necessarily. I mean, they will, but they won't. It's hard to explain. It's one of those things like dogs are on leashes most of the time, right? So if you're in if you're in an area where you don't, you know, that's very congested, the geese will nest on docks. They'll nest, you know, on roofs. They'll nest in weird places.
Really?
And they don't care anything about coyote cutouts. If it's not a real coyote, they could care less,
But they
We-
go like this.
you know, but we actually had, so this coyote cutout and geese like to nest with something at their back. So where do you think we found some nests? Coyote cutouts with the geese using the coyote cutouts, you know, as their backstop.
With the swan decoys looking at them.
Yeah, with the swan decoys looking at them.
Just this is for the panel here. Where do we think the nests are at Cross Lane?
I can tell you, because we had a legs now and we're registered.
Okay.
Well, and we've also been oiling. So they're on Blueberry Island, Whale Island, and Picnic Island is where we found them last year.
That's
He's
like
talking
Cross
Cross
Lane.
Lane Park.
Oh, I'm sorry.
at Cross Lane. Yeah, sorry.
Oh, I don't know across.
I
Really threw us.
think they're right on that rock,
Good to know.
right in the center of the pond.
That's where they go, is on the rock.
They do.
How big are the nests? I mean, are they easy to spot?
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
I know.
they're big. The nests are big. They're easy to spot.
Yeah.
Wow.
And one of the things is like, okay, when you start walking and there's a nest and you know you're near a nest, you hear the male will start going crazy. The female will lay low so that you can't see her
Hmm.
if you don't know what you're looking for. But the male will start going crazy, trying to distract you. Come over here with me. And you're like, oh, I'm in the right spot. And the more noise he makes, closer you are to the nest. So-
Does the male stay like kind of in the vicinity? So like a
Yeah.
single goose is like a good indicator that.
Yeah,
there's
we call it the
probably-
sentinel male. It's a
Yeah.
good
Not with
indicator.
bars.
And sometimes, you know, because there's one, I mean, it might not just be, it might be one male. They don't like congregate, so there won't be 3 or 4 males hanging out together while the females are on the nest.
Okay.
But there'll be a male over here. So, because on an island, we may have multiple nests, but there'll be a male and a male. And if you're on that island, they'll start, you know, they'll start making noise when you're near the nest.
Is there any truth to like swans or in particular black swans chasing geese out of an area?
Yes. And they will chase you out of that area.
Well, let me ask you that.
That was one of our challenges, like, oh, I gotta go on the island where the swans are also nesting and there's a goose that I want to take care of the goose. I'm not gonna touch you guys. Yeah. they
I had
can
a
be-
swan chase me in Rogers Lake in my kayak one time.
Yeah, no, they're
They
aggressive.
did nothing. They can-
Yeah, they're
it's-
really aggressive.
They can be very aggressive.
Well, is that
They're
an option?
Sitting on the water.
Swans?
You don't want to go there.
But can I just ask why though?
Just as messy.
You know, you're not gonna, you would end up with a swan problem. not-
Okay. No, that makes sense. Yeah.
You don't
that
want-
makes sense.
You don't want to, it's like, let wildlife be at that, and you've got a goose problem, let's just take care of that. It's like swans are not the way to manage geese.
Okay.
I think, I mean, it's a good thought, you know, and are there predators, you know, we could bring in more other
Yeah,
types
well,
of
I hear you.
predators
It's
too.
like,
and
I know.
so
How successful were you in Greenwich?
We were pretty successful. I mean, we had, you know, we have the same problem you guys have. We are on the shore, so the geese are coming from places that we couldn't control, but we were, you know, making a dent And it's, yeah, it was getting pretty successful. And it was definitely successful on our inland waters. Because it's easier than the shoreline. The shoreline, so we're trying to handle, like, we had a lot of coastal properties and trying to get them under control because the geese, like, okay, if your neighboring community isn't doing it, but the inland properties, you can be very successful. They were a little
Did you
bit
do
easier.
the North Country as well?
We did the whole town.
Wow.
Do you think, in your opinion, that most towns, the percentage of towns maybe in Connecticut that have a problem and had to deal with it, and what you're suggesting for us?
Most of them have not. They tried hazing for a while, or they tried different things, but they haven't made a long-term commitment to it.
Okay.
When you're dealing with wildlife management, it's always about long-term commitments. Anybody thinks it's like a quick fix, like, don't even bother. So you have to make the long-term commitment.
Mhm.
I mean, I know the Rogers Lake Association had started the oiling. That's getting the population down. It's the critical, but it's long-term. I mean, you guys probably already learned. I don't know how long you've been doing it, but you've probably already learned.
I've been doing it for a while, but I think the issue we see is that we can get the nests on the lake because that's the ones that we do, but these birds fly around to all the other areas here. So you
Mhm.
really need a coordinated effort.
There's so many.
Yeah, other
that's the
places to do it because we can reduce the population here or keep it stabilize it, and they'll come in from other places.
Yeah, and that's what's happening. So you might have the same birds coming in, but let's say eventually it's not those birds. But if you don't take, all the way down Lieutenant River, if you don't take care of all the nests along the Lieutenant River, those birds are just going to go all the way upstream. It's like, okay, they might not be able to swim all the way because there's a couple of dams or whatever, but they'll just walk around the dam and then eventually they're back in Rogers Lake.
How much money does something like this cost to really coordinate and like really do it properly?
We did it basically it was me and one other staff person who did it for the town, but it could easily have been done by a volunteer group. It doesn't cost a lot of money. It's like it's a very short season when you do it. So it's about the training and just keeping up with it.
See, when I hear this though, it sounds very daunting. I mean, we have so many waterways here. And so it just seems like a big effort, but you're saying that a couple of volunteers, well, not a couple, but like a volunteer group could handle that?
Well, the volunteer group handles the coordination. It's like you need to be advertising and getting people to understand, like, okay, if you have property, if you've got nests, and those are the types of things you need to kind of start figuring out, like, okay, which water bodies do we want to tackle, and where, so let's say you have the Rogers Lake Association that's committed to this. Are there enough volunteers there? And I don't know. I don't know anything about the different organizations. I'm fairly new in town because I retired from Greenwich in 2018, and then we moved here. So, it's all about like, okay, what do we have for volunteers? But I have found that you end up with a core group of volunteers, and they're willing to do it every year. Walk different sites, advertise. It will take 1 or 2 years to get it up and running, but once it's up and running, the coordinated effort is I think worth it.
Yeah.
And then it just becomes like routine. Okay, this is what we do, and everybody kind of knows. Like I used to have people calling me up. Hey, I want you to register my property again. I mean, they'd call me before I'd be ready to go.
Did you do a survey because I don't know what the population is locally. I know it moves around and stuff, but
Yeah.
I don't know if we have any idea of how many.
The population in terms of the number of birds is tough because they fly in and out, and even after the goslings hatch, it's like they could be coming from anywhere. Like I said, one of our challenges is Rocky Neck. I know that for a fact. So, because there's a lot that happen there. That said, what most people look at in towns, and I know like the folks on Long Island who are doing this, is they're looking at the number of nests and trying to figure out how many nesting sites they have. So how many nests did you do this year? How many nests did you do? It's like, and every year you find more nests, and then it's like, oh, it's like they're gonna be in the same area. If you start seeing like they're not in that area anymore, because they've now like, oh, hey, they're not nested on that island anymore, because, I mean, you want to always check that island, because if you want to be diligent, but eventually you find that they're not nesting there anymore, and that's what we were finding, is they're not nesting there anymore, they're not nesting here anymore. I'm not saying, like you still have some challenges, but you want to keep them on with the Rogers Lake situation, you want to keep them from getting into the waterway and be anywhere close enough where they can walk to the water or walk to the stream that enters into the water. So
Now, would we find them all along the Connecticut River too? Was that
there's the potential to be along the Connecticut River. The why it's, because there are those, little pockets where it's like, think about, can a coyote get out there easily? And understand that the coyotes have a lot of food. So like, do they want to mess with a goose?
right?
So that it's, geese can be pretty formidable, just like swans. So, I'm not saying they don't predate, and the geese seek areas where they aren't predated as much. That said, if there's easier prey, whether it be rats or some, other types of rodents that do that, like the bunny population is exploding and that type of thing, then the
So why
coyotes
is
won't.
Rocky Neck so?
Because so if you know how the backwaters of Rocky Neck, all those island tufts in there, that's perfect, because no, I'm not saying a coyote won't go out there, because they could if they were that desperate, but they're gonna go out there and mess with. I mean, there's hundreds of geese out there all the time, and the geese are just like.
I just think of like our back rivers and stuff down.
Yeah, I mean, you have the same challenge, and that's where you have to think about, like, how do you get it? And that's what I'd have to look at exactly. That's what the folks. I'm trying to think of it. It's like Bay. What the heck is it on Long Island? I think of the name of the town. I should know this. Anyway, they're very similar to here, and they, basically had a really big program. That said, I think they did use, they Parks and Recreation staff to help with that. So
We'd need state permission to go under Rocky Neck though, right?
Rocky, but that's where, I don't think anybody around here has basically challenged. I don't think anybody anywhere has challenged the state to do it. They haven't done it because they don't want to necessarily deal with animal rights, but it's like they have the right to do this, and there's ways for them to get it done. And they haven't done it because the population hasn't demanded it of them. And and understand, if they started doing it, they could just do it. It's very, very quiet. It's not like, because it doesn't require any permitting and whatever. But they have chosen not to manage, even though if you called the wildlife biologist, if you called Min right now and had him come in and talk to you about the geese, he will tell you exactly what I'm saying and tell you how to do it, and that you should be managing your geese, and yet the DEEP is not managing the geese on their properties. So I think it would be one of those opportunities to start having a conversation about, them managing the geese on their properties. I know you got other stuff on your agenda. So if you're interested, think about it. If you're interested, I would look at, you could do a training program like that. Yeah, you got to do it. You can't do it too early, because people, they really start thinking about this, so the end of March is a great time to be thinking about this. And whether you wanted to do it on like a Saturday morning or an evening, the training, and where you'd want to do it. I don't know if you want to do it at the boat club or wherever you want to do it, wherever you think the people would come together. And
This would be to train volunteers.
It would be to train volunteers, but also to train people to do it on their own properties, and also let them, just kind of say, like, who's interested in this? So if they understand you're doing this program and what it involves, and I think it's, because you can quietly do what you're doing with the egg oiling, but if you get the community to understand, then you're going to start picking up those tribs. Down the tribs.
Yeah.
Just thinking about timing.
Yeah.
I mean, this year, I'm concerned there's gonna be ice on the lake till like April.
Yeah, there will be. And most of the nesting, I mean, you get the guys who are coming back and they really like, you have those handful of geese that are like ready to go, like, March 31st, but most of the nesting takes place the second week of April, and that's really when you want to go out. Second, third week of April. This year it's going to be, but training people so that you're ready.
Yeah.
And like inviting people, like, do you know that, it's amazing what people like, they know they've got a nest on their property.
Mhm.
Or sometimes they don't, but when you start bringing it up, they start thinking about like, oh, I've got a nest on my property.
Or I heard that my neighbor does or whatever.
Or I heard that my neighbor does, or, people who are snowbirds. That's where we had a lot of nests with people who were snowbirds because they weren't back until there was nobody on the property, including their potential dog who, until the geese had nested. And now they're back because sometimes they come back for Easter or whatever they come back for. And it's like, and all of a sudden I've got like, geese. So it's like identifying all of those, but I think having people ready to go. So like kind of doing stuff the last week in March is a good time to, so that you can kind of gear up. So it's fast in terms of the time frame
Mhm.
for us to do it. But, just think about how you might want to do that.
That's really helpful. Thanks for all this information.
Thank you very much. That's great.
Have a good day. Yeah.
Could you send this to me digitally?
I can send that.
If we put together even.
So that you can really read it. I would.
But no, but then we can-
Something else.
Yeah.
That's good.
We might be able to put it on a website with a link as we advertise the geese piece, as just to get people interested in it.
Yeah.
And recognize that it's short term for this March, but
Yeah.
as the years go on, hopefully more and more people will be interested in bringing them in.
Thank
Thank
you
you.
very
Thank you
much.
so much.
Thanks a lot.
So much.
Yeah,
Learned a lot.
me too. Okay, next topic is Don, the director's report.
I will.
Oh, did you have, yeah.
No, I'm just, what I think would be helpful is like I said, a joint effort. Because we can do it here as soon as we can get boats in the water. But unless people are doing it either now, next year, this year, or the following years, all around, you're not gonna have a big impact.
Yeah.
What you're looking for.
I agree. And actually, I wonder if trying to partner with we have a conservation commission, right? So that could be a nice branding and joint effort. And
Yeah.
they'd probably reach a bunch of populations that Parks and Rec doesn't reach. But that could help partner in this.
Makes sense.
Okay, so,
I'm not saying it would be easy to get a group of people to do all this stuff, but looking at the other stuff, like all the open space in town, there's a lot of volunteer groups that take care of all those trails and stuff. And there's
they do.
a large number of people who do that stuff.
Hmm.
And it's similar. It's something to do with your town and protecting something. And
Yeah,
I think there's a lot of people who do that. If you look on some of the sites of all the open space, there's a list of people who are responsible for that
Like
property.
the
Correct?
stewards of the
Yeah,
property.
yeah.
Yeah.
And plus they would see the nets if they were open to looking for them.
Yeah, that's a good point. I think you're making the point that there's a lot of people that are interested in doing this kind of thing, but also the land trusts and stuff, like they're aware of bodies of water on their properties and stuff.
mhm.
That's something that they can potentially help with too, as they're checking on down trees over the trails and stuff.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's basically what they do. They keep the trails clear.
Yeah,
they do.
but they're out there.
But they're out there as a citizenship type thing, helping.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of them.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's a great point, great idea.
okay, well, thanks.
Thank you
Yeah,
for coming.
thank you.
for your time,
Yeah,
for your
thank
help.
you.
Really appreciate it.
No idea. Because it's such a formidable opponent. I mean, it really is.
Yeah.
Very resilient.
Yeah.
Just shove it
I didn't
around
realize
their
they
face, they're
didn't
stupid.
move.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
then,
the
but
resident
then they're,
aspects. Yeah.
Oh, they're
It's just
flying.
no
down.
longer
They're loyal.
migrate.
They're just like us. They live in town and they're here to stay. We're all very
We're
similar.
here to stay for 18 to 20 years.
We saw ducks on, I mean, today when I went by the pond, it was all covered and they were all on the ice, but those are the ducks.
Yeah, there's a lot of ducks around too.
Yeah.
Because they're
They're
small.
cute. They're cute though.
What?
They're cute though.
All right.
There you go.
I'll hear from Don.
They poop regular poop.
Director's
Alright.
report.
Programs, current ongoing programs include men's basketball, women's basketball, co-ed volleyball, and Zumba fitness. Our youth basketball session is ended on February 28th. And I'd like to thank all the players, volunteer coaches, referees, and parents who contributed to that successful program. A new program, badminton sessions are scheduled to start March 25th, will be held at the middle school gym on Wednesdays. There's already like a dozen people signed up for that. Summer programs, including day camp, aftercare, basketball camp, and volleyball camp, are in the early planning stages. Facilities, all building facilities obviously remain closed at this time and will be open when weather permits, whenever that's going to be this year. A budget update. The Board of Finance, I think at Tuesday's meeting, did not approve all the funding for the Haynes Park dredging project. They removed the funds, about, I think it was 400,000 that was I put in there, in an attempt to accumulate monies for 2 or 3 years to cover the cost of the project. They took that out.
All of it?
Yeah.
Wow.
They approved $50,000 or left in there. I mean, it's all approval. It's all up to approval for the town and the town vote, but they approved $50,000 for engineering costs related to this project. And it is requested that the engineers, whoever we get to be an engineering group on this, put together an all-inclusive plan by next budget season. Like exactly what are we going to do? What can we do? And what are we going to do down there? And then the funding at that time could be approved for the dredging.
For the whole amount?
Maybe.
Or just the amount we were,
The Board of Finance also felt that the seemingly low response to the previous survey
Oh my God, please.
taken was an insufficient representation of the town of Old Lyme.
Well, I disagree with that, but
I
okay.
knew you would.
Thank you.
Uh,
But I just want to note it for the record.
Yeah, so I think just suggesting that the Parks and Rec Commission discuss this all, not just so tonight, but at a later date and figure out, develop a plan on how to proceed.
Okay, thank you.
Couple miscellaneous items. Still working, the process of determining 2026 summer staff is still in progress. We've been slowed a little bit. 25 staff has been contacted to determine who's planning on returning or not. Some of those people are still owing me answers on that. Obviously that depends on how many new people we hire. We don't have any employment applications available now because all the applications in the town of Old Lyme have been pulled to be approved as what they can and can't say on the application. Ours is included, and ours is just a short 3-page thing. It's not like you're hiring a Parks and Rec director or something. This would be longer, but let's see. HR department is working on this as an example on our thing. We can't ask for somebody's age, birthday. It's against the law. They had to put some more words in there about different things nowadays that we
this is
can
to
and
work
can't.
for Parks and Rec?
Yeah.
Oh, I should apply.
And there's one line in there, it says that they've ever been arrested for anything, stuff like that. We're not allowed to ask that anymore either.
Oh,
And
wow.
we're not, and on the application, we put the emergency contact. There was a section for emergency contact information. We're not allowed to put that on an application because that theoretically, if I look at an application and say, oh, I don't like those people, I'm not hiring that kid. Which is kind of silly because like I told the HR person, I said, as long as I've been here, I have never hired or not hired a kid based on whether I liked or disliked their parents.
Right.
I mean, I liked some parents and I did not hire a kid. I did not like parents and I hired a kid, depending on what I felt the kid was going to do. So they're cleaning that all up. It was supposed to be done by today. So because people are contacting me when they see me at the school or whenever, say, hey, I'm looking for an application. So we've been delayed a little bit. Our day camp setup, organization and training days are scheduled for June 22nd through 26th. That's a little later now because school's going to be a little later. On June 24th, our counselors will take part in a training, about a 4-hour training session provided by instructors from CIRMA, the Connecticut Interlocal Risk Management Agency, our insurance people. The training and education program will cover various areas of camp council responsibilities to help ensure a safe and secure environment at camp. Without going into much detail, there's a whole list of stuff that they're going to be talking about. Bloodborne pathogen hazards, heat stress, accident reporting, harassment stuff, bullying, workplace violence, social media risks, emergency action plans, all that stuff. So that's what we're doing with those kids. I told you last month, there was an initial meeting in January concerning the shared costs of the Parks and Rec programs and operations with the town of Lyme. And that meeting included myself, Bob Dunn, the first select woman, the finance director, and the board of finance chairman. Not much came out of that. No decisions were made, obviously, but the first select woman of Lyme and Old Lyme, along with the Lyme finance director, recently met to discuss this situation and educate basically the Lyme people on what we do, how much it costs. There's no decisions have been made at this time, but they're working on it and updates will be provided.
Progress.
And that's it for my report.
Thank you, Don.
Thanks, Tom.
Thanks, Don.
I have a question on that, on the applications for people that were, like day camp.
Yeah.
Can you ask if they were born after, can there be a requirement of born after? a certain year?
What I put on the heading in the front is you have to be, say, 15 by June 1st of this year, stuff like that. So I didn't get a bunch of applications that I can't hire the kid because he's too young. And I gotta go find out how old they are.
I know, so it has to be, yeah.
So I I put it right up front without asking the specific information. You gotta be 15 or 16, whatever it is, lifeguard, whatever, by this date, or don't bother. So that's the way I got away from that.
Don't you feel like the emergency contact thing that's dangerous? Someone gets hurt or something. don't you?
What it is if you hire a kid, then all that stuff gets put in.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
But it just can't be something that I can, or somebody can look at and say, no.
On the application, I understand.
So
Okay.
on the application, they don't list their parents either? Because you might judge by the parents?
I believe so, yeah.
Can they include their name? Okay.
I mean, what if the kid doesn't know?
Are you a psychopath?
I'm sure they all do. but-
Because you can't, are you a psychopath?
I think it's been getting kind of silly, quite frankly.
Just keep rolling with the punches, Don.
You
I do.
That's bopping and weaving, Don. That's it.
You go to the doctor and I say, do you live with anger?
Thanks,
You're my age. Do you want to kill anyone? Seriously, do you have rugs in your house?
Yeah.
In case I get
Do you
wrapped
feel
up.
safe in your
in
home?
say,
Do you feel safe in your house?
Do you feel,
Is any, I'm looking at the stuff, I'm going like,
do you think your spouse, do you think your spouse is gonna hurt you?
yeah.
No, well, sometimes.
Only once.
The things we have to care about.
So are they gonna get that all figured out for you so you can actually
Yes.
the application?
She told me she was working on it. She was actually working on it today. So it will be very soon that the applications are again available.
Okay.
Unbelievable.
Thank you again for
Thanks,
you and Winnie, all that you and Winnie do,
Yeah.
especially in this new
Winnie-
HR era.
If you ever wonder why Winnie's not at these meetings, these are on Thursday nights and she's usually at volleyball.
Yeah.
So,
Okay, so I think we'll move on to old business. First on the agenda was the Haynes Park Playscape update.
yep, nothing's changed since the playground equipment was delivered to Public Works Garage on January 27th. And it's just being stored there until we put it in.
Thank you. That's great. The next item, unless anyone has questions, is the Town Woods Park softball infield update.
Yeah, I had a meeting with the Little League folks on February 10th, and that was discussed. No decisions have been made. They'd like to do it. No decisions have been made yet as to what they're doing. They're getting organized for this season, and they're trying to figure it out. But it's on the docket.
Gotta wait for that snow to melt.
Yeah.
And then it'll be a mud pit.
Yeah,
There is gonna be a team that's gonna use that field though.
yeah,
We got like 7 or 8 kids signed up already that
Yeah.
are, of that age.
Yeah, but there's nothing like the clang of the bat and the smell of the mud. I know you smell it at your house. Don't you?
Yeah.
Other fields. It's like, oh, it's baseball season.
speaking of snow, off the record here, Mile Creek School has their ACE program, whatever,
Yeah.
and they want to start pickleball next week.
Oh, boy.
And I was like, you better find something else to do next
No,
week.
Next week's supposed to be in the 70s, isn't it?
I don't think it's gonna be that hot, but I mean, it's, first of all, it's gotta melt up there. You can't scrape it off because then you ruin the surface. It's gotta melt.
Yeah.
And I gotta put all the nets up.
It's too early.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
find something else to do.
All right.
Indoor pickleball
Yeah.
in the
Sure.
gymnasium.
Yeah.
Go shovel snow.
Okay. Unless there's any questions, the next item actually on the agenda was a review of the current program fees and structures. Do you have
Yeah.
any further update than?
You
what
know,
you
Winnie and I talk about it a lot. As an example, the previous, last year's day camp fees was $300 per kid and $150 for each additional kid of the family. Aftercare was $240 for the 6 weeks. And we are probably going to raise the fee to across the board, $300 per child.
Meaning like if there's an extra one in the family, it's,
Every kid is $300.
okay.
Now, there's gonna be probably some pushback on that, but we'll play that by ear, I guess.
Why
It's
not?
not official, but
We don't want to put the amount in the minutes, do we?
no, I wouldn't.
Just such
I would just say it's ongoing
Ongoing,
discussion.
yeah.
I don't know, it's. Again, I'm not, maybe you feel differently about it, but. I'm not calling it pressure from the Board of Finance or anybody, but they're definitely in tune with this stuff. And they want more. And I've been resisting them for 33
I don't
years,
blame you though.
Yeah, well,
trying to keep it, because I look at it this way. The taxpayers pay for the school, which we use. Everybody here pays, part of their taxes goes to that school.
Most of it, right? 75.
And what's the difference of having a day camp there? When we got the day camp for free, essentially, as far, it doesn't cost us anything to run it, except buying equipment and stuff like that. So I think keeping the fee low, I think is a very good thing. And I think it's an outstanding gesture towards what I feel like about the town, the kids in the town. That's how I feel about it. And what difference is it if we bring in $75,000 to help defray something or $95,000 in the big picture? By you're increasing things on individual families, and there are some families who get in for free because they need it. And I handle that stuff quietly and
Yeah.
And without question, we meet and we talk and we sign your kid up. So if it costs us, say, $100,000 to staff the day camp, and we're getting $75,000, what difference is that $25,000 to everybody's taxes in town? Pennies?
and it's,
Probably.
yeah,
That's how I look at it.
Right.
And
I totally,
I think that's the way it should be. Some people obviously are disagreeing with that, which is fine, but that's the way I've always thought about it. And I don't,
Let me
Should
ask
be-
a question. My feeling's always been to keep it low too. The only thing I was against was Lime should contribute. Would you be able to go back to what we were charging if Lime did say we're gonna contribute?
Hmm.
20,000 a year? Well, you're right. We should contribute something.
so that would help. But see, in a day camp,
We're still giving them,
in the day camp though, and it's, the Lyme kids are paying too to come in here. So we're getting money from a kid being at camp.
right?
Mhm.
But they're not,
But it could be a way, because you mentioned how the other programs have less overhead than the huge staff for.
Yeah,
Well, right, like how
Right,
much,
like the soccer and
how
we
much
talked
is
about
soccer?
that.
right.
So the
my-
contribution could be like in an equivalent amount, even though the day camp Lime attendees pay.
Like at soccer, if I remember correctly here, it costs $50 kid to play 7 or 8 weeks of soccer.
Yeah.
That's pretty cheap.
Mhm.
And everything's provided for them.
Yeah.
And we make money on it.
Right.
like, do you
Right,
make
that's what I
enough
mean.
to make up for the difference?
Not the complete
across
difference.
The other programs?
I just
Basketball, soccer,
I just feel like, why are we trying to make up the difference all the time? It's coming out of people's tax bases.
When you get challenged on this by the Board of Finance, are you given an opportunity to explain these things? Because I feel like we'd have reached that consensus here.
That's
over and
what
over.
I give them my opinion, yes.
Is it something where we at a future meeting invite the reps and the Board of Finance to give their thoughts on why they are pushing Park and Rec to charge families more for programs where we have a reason to keep the costs low, so that we can hear that and then respond in a public setting? Would that be helpful to move this forward, do you think, in addition to pursuing what I think is the right path with Lime?
I don't think so, Sarah, because I just think the more times you ask them, the more they're gonna want. I think I can hold them at bay for quite a while. Another example of this type of stuff is beach passes. Now, we sell beach passes here for what, $25, $30?
Aren't they 70?
I've always been against having to pay for beach.
Now, they,
Oh, I
now,
did.
I live in town.
I got one for each car.
that income from beach passes used to be applied to my income in Parks and Rec. And somewhere down the line, somebody decided that it wasn't gonna be there anymore. I'm the one that manages it.
that makes no sense.
Of course, it doesn't make any
That
sense.
should pay for the lifeguards.
It won't, but it should help. It should
It
be
should
put
help.
towards them. Yes, absolutely,
Doing it.
absolutely. And it used to be that way.
I never understood why we have to charge our own people who pay taxes to live here money.
Well, that's another
It's
part of it.
always bothered me, like, I already pay you.
It's gotta
Right.
be to deter the people that don't live here from going there.
But
Well,
we
you
can
can't get a
issue
sticker.
passes.
Like a sticker.
Come get
Yes,
your
it's
sticker for
pass,
your
right?
property.
The dumpster.
We're-
Yeah, that's right.
I hate having to
That's
show them
true.
a receipt on my taxes.
Yeah.
I'm like, you guys, I'm in your system.
Right, some people say, I pay taxes, why do I gotta pay $30 to get a beach pass? I'll get a pass to show you I live here.
Yeah.
But why do I gotta pay for that? I think it's just to help defray something, but
Sure.
I don't know where it's going. It
But our
probably
It's not
goes-
the fray your
Our
taxes.
taxes
Defraying
are
the
all
cost of running the
so high.
beach.
No, it's going to the selectmen for the cost of the stickers and the selling them.
It funds the
I
act
keep
of
bobbing,
sales.
weaving like you
That's it, Don.
said.
That's all you can do, man.
I can't.
Well,
Take
it's
a
not
row.
Almost this way.
That's it.
All other towns.
I haven't got hit yet.
I have to pay for a sticker, but the rowers from Madison don't. That drove me nuts.
Okay.
That's.
You know what, Donnie, what if you, I think we wanted to appease the Board of Finance a little bit. I mean,
Well, sorry to interrupt, but first of all, I can't in 1 year raise the price without catching a lot of flack to make up for what they want to make up.
It's gotta be incremental.
Right, at the very least. And I'm gonna do that. So that's why I refer to Sarah, like, let me just do it. And next year they're gonna say, how much do you have in income? I'm gonna give them the number and they go, well, can you get more? That's what they're gonna say.
so
I said, yeah, we're working
you
on
think
it.
we have to go up that much though this year?
What?
I know that's what you and Winnie had come up with, but you said it would be now 300 a kid?
Yeah,
And it was 150 for the additional.
right.
I mean,
Now, I don't have the numbers with me as far as how many are additional.
that's a pretty good size increase.
It is. It
I'm
is.
wondering if it's too much of an increase.
It could be.
I mean, that's to me, even when they do the Harbor Commission mooring fees, it's, they
You
were
go-
charging nothing but very little, but they've been going up like by $5 every year to get mooring.
Yeah.
Could you go up a little bit on second kid and a little bit on aftercare?
I think aftercare is,
Or
well, aftercare is still cheap, but it's like over 2/3 of what the whole day camp is, and it's only 2 hours a day versus
Yeah.
5.
Right.
It's already a bargain, but
It is a bargain. That's.
It's a higher,
Price-
it's
price
a
per
higher
hour is
percentage
higher. Yeah.
to stay in aftercare. It's costing you more to stay in aftercare per hour than it is.
How much is it for summer? Is it by summer? Aftercare? What was that?
Yeah, aftercare is just 2 additional hours to the day camp,
And how much is it?
$240.
I mean, if you break it down to per day, it's peanuts.
It's still peanuts.
I
No,
think my kids pay that for babysitters one day at home, because we had 2 babysitters for 4 kids, so they paid them. They gave them $250 to babysit.
Yeah.
That's, to me, the aftercare is fine. That's still a bargain.
yeah, it's definitely a
The
bargain.
day camp is huge.
I just have a soft spot for
Well, of course you do.
kids and
So,
trying to get a
so
program for
Why
them.
can't we, maybe you could think about not going up quite so much.
or what about instead of,
Or you just go to $200 for an additional kid. It's only
or
$50.
what if it's 350 for the first kid? So everybody has to deal with this, not just the people that have 2 kids.
Hmm.
I mean, maybe you already thought about that. I don't know.
Well, I got the numbers downstairs. I can't repeat them right now because I won't remember them, but we were trying to do this. And,
And if you present it as cost per hour, I don't know how anyone could fight that.
it's between $1 and $2
It's,
an hour
yeah,
for babysitting.
it's nothing.
And the thing is, everyone knows this is an amazing bargain.
Oh, yeah, they do.
Everyone knows. So,
I mean, you don't get complaints ever, do you, about the price?
Every new person who moves into town, when they contact me via email or telephone, hey, we just moved into town. We heard about this great day camp. And they talk about it and I say $300 and they think it's
Week.
per week. That's a bargain. I said, that's for the 6 weeks. And they're like, they just drop.
No,
But again, there's reasons for it.
yeah.
It's like,
Love your reasons.
there is, because it's inexpensive for people. It helps. Now we're helping people.
sure.
If a kid doesn't want to go to day camp one day for a particular reason, or he wants to go to another camp, or the parents want to go away for a week, they don't feel like they're losing something.
Right.
If they pay too much for something, they're going to be there every day. And
And miss out on other
Yeah,
opportunities and stuff.
yes.
It's like there is a safety net and an amazing resource for people that really need it.
and
Well, it's very good for the.
summer
kids.
jobs for a lot of,
My kids love it.
and
Yeah.
also summer jobs for a lot of O-line kids.
Yeah, sure it is. So to me, it helps everybody.
It does.
It really does.
It does. I'm not looking for it, but they should just go, thanks. And that's it. I don't even want that, but I don't like to be criticized about what I do.
I personally, I don't want to see us go up a lot on that at all. I'd rather see it go up just a small amount. Ryan's idea is not so bad, 350 for the first and
Yeah.
Yeah.
200 for the
I don't know how
each of
the
the
math
others.
works out,
That's still a huge bargain.
And it's not painful.
And
It's,
another thing that's been going on over there is we've been putting more people in there. Yeah, close to 300 kids in the camp last year. I mean, they're not all there every day. I mean, when I first started, if we had 150 kids, it was a lot. We've put a lot more kids over there, and quite frankly, there's a increasing number of kids who are difficult to deal with.
you had that situation elsewhere too.
I mean, they've always been there, but
Can
there
I-
seems like
is
there's more of
can
them.
you,
The
if
one
they have
came
problems,
from
can
Tom.
you,
Yeah.
I send them home.
that's what I was gonna say. You can say, you've had
You're out.
3 warnings,
Yeah.
you're done. I mean, you don't,
Yeah, no, we do that. We do that. We give them a chance.
Yeah.
I do the same thing with counselors. I give you a
have to,
chance.
the whole thing's gonna.
I'll give you another chance, but then you're done.
Yeah,
Sorry.
no, you have to be strict.
Thanks,
So
Tom.
we're working on it, so I'll figure it out.
Sounds like
Thank you. John.
we're all in support of
Yeah,
however.
if there's more that you need from the commission to
Any of us.
make those cases that you make, let us know.
I don't know what anybody in the Board of Finance could actually do with what I charge people for anyways.
Well, that's why it feels,
Their opinions, they can have opinions, but
I know, but I just,
I'm running the department, they're not.
Correct.
I could easily say, why are you only charging $25 for a beat sticker?
Get a nicer beat sticker so you can charge more.
A magnetic sign for the side of our vehicles.
All right, unless there's anything else on that.
No,
So it's just still a work in progress.
work in progress.
Okay.
I'll send it. I have it written like that. I'll send it. to
Okay,
you.
okay, done. Thanks.
Thanks, Ann. All right, any new business?
No.
Okay,
No.
hearing none. Next matter, correspondence. Bob asked that I send to you an email chain between Don and Paul Fuchs. Maybe you have it?
I think I do. Well, I think I have it what Paul said, wait until after this.
Yes, so that was the only
He wants.
correspondence that I'm aware of and would
All
note.
right.
They're gonna, the proposal is that they'll meet
Next
towards the
week
end of the
sometime.
next week, I
Yeah.
think the 13th or
Probably
something,
meet after they go in.
Figure out the dock
to
location.
figure out the dock location. Sorry, yes. I buried the lead. It was to
Yeah.
figure out the dock location. Okay, any other correspondence? Okay, now is Brody's moment to shine. Public comment.
Brody, do you have any public comments that you would like to make?
What?
No comments.
Free ice cream to take him.
You're bored.
It's all right, buddy. You're very well
So
behaved.
patient.
Very well
I
behaved.
am so embarrassed.
It's not lost on me.
Board.
Put that in the minutes.
What? Okay.
Great. Public comment.
I mean, he caught the meeting with the 1 hour goose presentation. I think
I
he
know.
gets a special prize.
That's the best we've had all year. isn't it?
Sounds fascinated.
Oh, for sure, but I just mean for Brody.
No, for
Maybe
sure.
that's interesting. All right, that's it. So a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion, yeah. Second, I second.
Ryan made the motion. I keep wanting to call you Will because I was reading about your son's
thank you,
five
thank you.
3-pointers. Brennan second. Okay.
Are
With
we
that,
done?
the meeting will conclude at 7:38.
Very good. Thank you.
We didn't have
Thank
a
you.
quorum, didn't we?